brought to you almost live from the Dude in the Basement studios. Why? Because that's where the good stuff is. It's Sips, Suds, and Smokes with your smoking hosts, the good old boys. Now it's sippin' time.
Yes, it's sippin' time again. Hello and welcome to this Sips episode where everything good in life is worth discussing. As always, we are the best thing on at 2 a.m. This is a 1 hour show that's reasonably entertaining for, what are you shooting for today, 25 minutes?
I think we can go for a whole 20 minutes. I think 25 is, shooting for the moon.
Stretching. Okay. We are still banned in 4 countries. We're looking at you, North Korea. 2 states, and due to an unfortunate misunderstanding, Harmeet can't come within 200 feet of Scarlett Johansson, or at least until we get the restraining order lifted.
You can actually add Jennifer Aniston to that list. Call me, ladies. Call me.
You wish in your wildest dreams.
No, I can't come. I can't come within 200 feet. I think my wife is enforcing that one.
This is Made Man Bob, and joining me today, our good old boy Harmeet.
Howdy, y'all.
Made Man Maury.
Good morning, Bob. I like the new decor in the basement.
Oh, I'm so glad that you like it in the basement. It's nice.
What it is, the velvet posters of Elvis that do it.
No, I love the little dripping off the
dogs. The dogs playing cards, or the cats playing pool. Yeah. The Elvis on black velvet. Yeah.
The black velvet Elvis is my favorite, man.
It's black light.
Dude.
Classy, baby. Nothing but class. So, and joining us today is good old boy Justin.
Good morning, Bob.
All right.
This is a different Justin from the Nashville Justins.
Yeah, exactly.
We have another good old boy Justin who does a different show.
And Maury and myself are with the Bourbon Mafia. The Bourbon Mafia is a nonprofit organization composed of bourbon enthusiasts and industry professionals. With representation in 7 states, our members combine a love of bourbon and a passion for charitable work.
And a love of bourbon. Did you say that?
Every minute of my life.
A love of bourbon? Yeah. They'd like to drink.
Oh, yeah. The group uses their love of our native spirit to raise money for local and national charities through rare bottle auctions and other themed events. Check us out on Facebook at The Bourbon Mafia. This show is also sponsored in part by Fine Spirits in Cooper City, Florida, home of the Enigmatic Machine, serving great wines, whiskeys, and other spirits by the glass. You can find them where?
www.finespirits.net. And, of course, also check us out on Facebook or Twitter.
Awesome. We are also sponsored in part by the Fort Lauderdale Whiskey Society. The Fort Lauderdale Whiskey Society, a group of people here in Fort Lauderdale who absolutely love whiskeys. We have meetups on a monthly basis. If you're ever in the area, look us up. We'd love to have you come in. Our sip segments are all about wine, distilled spirits, tea, and coffee. And today's show is all about independent Scotch whiskey bottler John Milroy.
Today, we celebrate our Independence Day.
That's the wrong continent.
It's the best I could come up with, man. Come on.
You couldn't get the Mel Gibson one?
What is an independent bottler you may... He doesn't talk about independence.
Yeah,
no.
freedom. Yeah.
He runs around with blue paint on his face, and for crying out loud, he's Australian. What is an independent bottler, you may ask? Well, I'm waiting for someone to ask.
What is an independent bottler, Bob?
Thank you, Maury. Okay, an independent bottler is someone who purchases casks of whiskey, either new make or aged spirits from various distilleries, and bottles them under their own label. Sometimes they bottle the whiskey and list the distillery of origin. Sometimes they don't. But when they do, oftentimes it's a more affordable opportunity to try some older whiskey from one of your favorite distilleries at a more approachable price.
Well, I'd like to interject something there. I think that in general, as a rule, the Scotch producers do disclose and like to disclose. And I think it actually adds some credibility to the bottlings when they disclose when and where these spirits were distilled. They'll often include the year it was distilled, in addition to the exact age. And that's in sharp distinction to American spirits, where we tend to be much less transparent about where many of our whiskeys are coming from.
Why'd you look at me like that?
Transparency in the SWA? No. We just hosted a dinner with John Glazer at Compass Box, and believe me, there's no transparency in doing anything with those guys.
There's a lot of the big name brand guys will not put any of that transparent stuff, but the private bottlers are always
Right. The independent bottlers always. But when you think about it, companies like Jefferson's, for example, was really an independent bottler for a long time. We call it something different, but the bottom line is they're an independent bottler and they're sourcing spirits from places that are unknown to the general public.
Well, today we're going to be tasting whiskeys from the John Milroy selection, and I'm going to ask Maury to give us some background on the company.
Thank you, Bob. It'd be my pleasure. Milroy's of Soho was founded by John Jack Milroy in 1964. A fantastic year, I might add. Lots of great things were happening in 1964.
Nothing good ever happened in 1964. Ask your mother.
When he opened his wine shop at number 3 Greek Street in the heart of London's swinging 60s Soho district.
Yes, that's what I was looking for.
Thank you.
Oh, behave. Yeah. Yeah, baby. Yeah.
Peter Cook's Establishment Club was just up the street at number 18, and the Marquee Club, a hangout for bands like The Who, The Rolling Stones, The Yardbirds, Led Zeppelin, King Crimson, and the Jimi Hendrix Experience, were around the corner on Wardour Street.
You couldn't come up with music for that?
Peace and love.
Where's my music for that? Come on, the Stones, the Who. What's going on?
Peace and love. Peace and love.
You could have included a number of great clips. I'm sorry that we're not having a little more music from the Zeppelin and the Who. The
last time I put Zeppelin on, it took you idiots how many minutes to figure out that it was the Viking song, okay? Come on.
That's your people, not mine.
The Soho Wine Market, as their shop was originally known, soon went on to sell not just wine, sherry, and champagne, but also whiskey. As Scottish single malts entered the mainstream in the market in the 60s and 70s.
1972. I don't know where they get the 60s from.
Well, that was overseas. In 72, we were a little late on this side of the pond. By 1970, Milroy's became the epicenter of the single malt Scotch whiskey revolution. Along with maintaining the then largest selection of single malt brands, Jack purchased individual casks of single malts from various distilleries that he felt were exceptional. He bottled them, thereby creating one of the first independently bottled single cask brands.
There were a lot of independent bottlers long before this, but this is the first guy who was like a big single cask.
Correct.
Bottler.
Over the years, he went on to bottle many whiskeys under his own label, and his brother Wallace went on to write the well-known whiskey books Malt Whiskey Almanac and Whiskey in Your Pocket. In 2009, Jack sold his John Milroy whiskey brand to Berry Brothers and Rudd Limited. All of the whiskeys of the John Milroy selection are non-chill filtered and bottled at what the company calls near cask strength, meaning they only add a small bit of water to achieve what they feel is the best proof for that particular expression, as determined by Mr. Doug Macgyvered, the whiskey manager of Berry Brothers and Rudd.
The guy that builds like airplanes out of duct tape?
Correct.
That's the wrong MacGyver.
Oh, if Brent were here, he'd be screaming about that. Why not just put him in at cask strength? Yes. Why add that couple drops of water?
And here's a list of the whiskeys from the John Milroy collection that we will be tasting today. There are quite a few of them, so I'll run through them rather quickly.
It's 8. You can't count to 8?
I need 2 hands to count to 8. It's more than we usually taste. We have the John Milroy selection Glen Moray, 19-year-old. The John Milroy selection Glen Gary, 20-year-old. The John Milroy selection Linkwood, 27-year-old. The John Milroy selection Miltonduff, 34-year. The John Milroy selection Benrinnes, 16-year. The John Milroy selection Ben Nevis, 18-year. The John Milroy selection Tormore, 20-year. And finally, we'll conclude with the John Milroy selection Bunnahabhain, 25-year.
All right, way to go. All right, Harm, why don't you do our sips ratings for us?
Isn't it traditional that the newbie do this? Do you want to have Justin do it? Justin, did anyone tell you about this thing?
Yes.
Do you want to do the sips rating? Should we throw it to Justin?
Why not?
Do your best Scottish accent. You have one?
You got to do it as a sea captain.
Yeah, do it as yeah.
So
there's sips rating. So one sip.
Yeah.
The one sip rating would be
That's a sea captain?
What sea captain is that?
It's a sea captain from Kansas.
A very drunk sea captain.
Okay, one sip.
One sip is the whiskey that you'd most likely wish to forget that you ever had. That's horrible. Otherwise known as give me a glass of water to wash out my mouth.
Water. Bring water. Bring
Nice.
water.
Do you have an Indian accent you could do for 2 sips?
Of course we can do the Indian accent for 2 sips.
Sounds like a Russian to me, but whatever.
Well, it's close.
Drunk
Go ahead,
leprechaun.
Let him do it. Let him do it. Okay, 2 sips. Go ahead. Do it.
I would say very nice, but what else do you have?
That was respectable. I like that. Good.
And the third rating, I would say, interesting. What was this again?
Interesting.
He sounds like a white lawyer. Good.
Shocking.
Good one.
Yeah.
4, let's keep this secret to ourselves. Pour me another.
That's classified.
This one is a pirate. Come on, pirate.
Oh my, I was unaware that anything could be this good.
Oh my goodness!
Yes. 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 Yes.
I think Johnny Depp would be reasonably proud of that. I mean, it's
I
not
think
too
Johnny
bad.
Depp feels secure in his
All right,
choice
boys.
here.
Let's get cracking. Open up our first bottle.
Yeah, I don't think Johnny Depp is shaking in his boots or anything. Anything's going to happen now.
All right.
So, Maury, why don't you take it for us?
All right. First whiskey tonight will be the John Milroy selection, Glen Moray 19-year at 53.9% ABV. It was barreled in ex-bourbon casks and is from Speyside. Glen Moray was former brewery on the banks of the River Lossy near Elgin that began making whiskey in 1897. It is known for producing a quality whiskey for a reasonable price and is one of the most widely sold whiskeys in Great Britain. It is also a component of the Whiskey Label 5 blended whiskey.
And we'll be back.
Rolling clouds and crashing surf, iridescent dunes reflecting by the light of a rising, glowing moon. Seashore mesmerizing, night breeze hypnotizing. We've come across these back roads none too soon. Look to the left, to the right. Keep your eyes on the road, my darling. Wondering if we're only passing through. Open roads and open windows. My hand is yours forever, sweet love.
And we're back, and Maury's telling us about the John Milroy selection, Glen Moray 19-year.
Thank you, Bob. So moving right along, this whiskey, very light in color. I'm astonished that it's so light for a 19-year-old whiskey. I think it speaks to the nature of the barrels, which are more likely second and third, or perhaps even further, refilled barrels.
Yep.
The nose, they talk about some apples and spice. I really found the nose to be relatively unappealing and really not very interesting. I didn't really get a whole lot on the nose. It was just sort of there. On the palate, the whiskey is definitely very light. The producers talk about some light smoke. I got no smoke. I didn't get much toffee or oak. I really just got a very, very light whiskey that really was one note and very not very complex. The finish was short, and really this was not my favorite of the selection for the evening. I think it's, it speaks to a whiskey that's been well made, but I don't know. I don't know if it's past its prime or I don't know. It's just not something that I would actively seek out. And with that, I'm going to give it one sip.
Water. Bring water. Bring water.
All right, Harmeet, what'd you think?
I love the fact that he said he would not actively go out to seek it and then give it one sip. That's one sip is like, that's something I'd actively go out and break bottles. It's not that bad. But the color was straw. I agree with Maury. There was not much of a nose. I added water, and I did get some more barley, sugar, and melon notes coming out. I didn't get that apple and spice that they said. The mouthfeel was a little bit creamy, but the flavor was not pleasant. And that unpleasant flavor, I think, is just too long in these neutral oak barrels. I'm thinking these barrels were used too many times, and it was just way too long in them. 19 years is definitely past its prime for this whiskey. Unpleasant flavors came out with or without the water, and I agree. 1 sip, son.
Water. Drink water.
All right, Justin, what do you think?
I got a note of port on the nose. I thought that the front end was pretty pleasant and woody, but there was no finish to it at all. I'd give it 2 sips.
Wow.
Well, isn't that nice?
I didn't find much pleasant. Bob, did you find anything pleasant with this one?
I get a buttery aroma in the nose.
Oh, you poured it again. I didn't even see.
Yeah, there was a tiny little bit left. Actually, the samples we got for this one had a lot of char floating in it, which was kind of unusual. But I'm getting a buttery note in the nose. On the palate, I'm getting that slight buttery note as well.
Bob, I don't like to say this often, but may I sniff yours?
It's not what you said when we were in Alabama.
What happens in Alabama stays in Alabama.
He likes to spoon. What can I tell you? Yeah, it's not it's not a extremely complex whiskey.
Maury, smell this.
But a pretty decent pour. I give it a 2.
Well, isn't that nice?
Yeah, I'm getting that butteriness now. You're saying.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's definitely there's definitely something in there.
I think it needed more air. When I poured mine, I didn't give it any air.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking this thing needs the air to open up, and it
is an older whiskey, and it should
might
require
go,
a little more
it
air
might
time.
go up a notch or 2. And I'm actually going to leave this one sit here while we do the rest of the show.
I hope it
If I had a larger
see
sample,
where it
I
gets.
might be able to leave that aside and let it kind of air out. But
With you, it's always a larger sample. I know how it is.
He's got ulterior motives, folks.
The urologist wants a larger sample. Bring me a cup, okay? All right. Our next one's the Glengarry. Harm, why don't you take that one?
Sure. Glengarry, spelled Garioch. So if you're looking for Glengarry on the shelf and you see
it's Garioch.
Garioch,
Yeah.
but it's pronounced Glengarry.
Sounds like a Klingon word.
Glengarry was founded in the village of Old Meldrum in 1798, and also originally included a brewery and tannery on the premises, which doesn't strike me as being sanitary or particularly good for the nose of a whiskey.
1798.
Tanneries.
What the hell is sanitary in 1798? Good Lord.
nothing.
They make alcohol. That should disinfect something.
Exactly. So
but
it's
a tannery
sanitary.
smells awful. At any rate, that's where they make leather. They're dead animals. No, not good. Well, they've stopped doing that. In the distillery actually stopped production in 1968 briefly due to a chronic water shortage, and until a new water source was found in the neighboring farm. The distillery more or less sits on the Highland Speyside border and was in the past was one of the few heavily peated Highland malts, although today they've lessened that peat influence. Back in the day, before World War II, actually, a lot of the Speysides and Highlands were peated, but that's changed. The color, again, this is a lot of used barrels, second, third fill probably. A color was straw to pale gold, a little more color on this one. The nose, to me, was at first sweet, and then it went to a dry sherry type of nose with some yellow fruit. Water really enhanced it. I used a little squeeze bottle of water, and it really enhanced the nose. This one really needed that. The palate was rich with candied fruit and some minty notes. It was finished long, and it went dry, and I really appreciated that, and I give that 3 sips.
Interesting.
Justin, what did you think about the John Milroy?
Reminded me of something that Al Pacino would have drank in Glengarry Glen Ross. I would say is white wine on the nose. It was a fiery long finish, but it was well balanced. Give it 3 sips.
All right.
Interesting.
All right, Maury, what did you think?
Well, thank you for the opportunity. You guys might want to pull up a chair or a pillow because I've got a lot to say.
That's a first, really.
Yeah.
Maury being wordy. I've never had that
But you
happen
never
in my
played
life.
that damn sound clip about him about being too wordy. With me,
That's great. Go ahead, make your jokes, Mr. Jokey. Joke maker.
Thank you. I like this whiskey quite a lot. I got a lot of corn on the nose, which is shocking and surprising considering it's a malt whiskey that really has zero corn in it. But that being said, I did get a lot of young corny grain on the nose.
You need to drink more dry sherry.
Mm-hmm. On the palate, I thought it was viscous. It had a nice oily, noise, oily mouthfeel. And I thought it was a balanced whiskey. I thought it was extremely well made. I was a little underwhelmed by the color. Again, the color of all of these selections tonight are very light, and this one was no exception.
You can't judge a good whiskey by the color, especially in Scotland.
They could easily dump some caramel coloring in it and make it as dark as you want. When I'm drinking Scotch, I don't really look at color.
No, I know, but I'm just simply saying that the color doesn't have a lot of eye appeal. That's all.
So in other words, you're into color. Okay, I'm colorblind. What can I say? I'm just a little more evolved than you. Racist.
Yeah, he likes the colors though. That makes him.
He likes them dark. He's a dark.
So is my wife. We miscegenated.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it's got a nice medium length finish.
Right in the toilet.
Nice whiskey. I definitely wouldn't pour it out of my glass. I give it 3 sips.
Okay.
Interesting.
Bobby Joe, do you concur?
I really like the Glengarry. A lot of dried fruit, a little toast, a little bit of coffee note to it that I got on the very back palate.
Seriously?
Yeah. Just sort of
I
like
need to get another sip.
It's it's like a white coffee mocha kind of thing in the very back end.
I don't think there's any left.
Isn't it amazing? The ones we all like are the ones that are empty. The ones that we don't like are the ones that are completely full. Again, this is another one that benefited with a little bit of air and definitely benefited with a drop or two of water. This one was stellar. I really liked this. I give it a solid 4.
Nice.
That's classified.
Wow. I didn't see that coming.
All right. Well, we'll have Justin talk about our Linkwood 27 year.
So on this one,
read the script.
Read. That would imply that he actually is literate.
He actually took notes on like separate sheets.
He's the lawyer.
Instead of the paper we had in front of us. He's used to his secretary taking the notes for him.
Get the stenographer
Linkwood
out.
was established near Elgin in 1821.
There you go.
In 1873, a new distillery was designed and built on the same location. The distillery was closed during World War II from 1941 to 1945.
What we refer to as the dark time.
Thank you for the history lesson, Professor. Sorry.
And they reopened it.
Actually, World War II started a lot earlier for England, 1940, before 41, right? No?
Do you want to get into semantics now?
Right, well, they were close to 41.
Up.
I'm sorry.
The question is, did World War I really end? But
yeah, there you go.
In 1971, an effort to increase production, a second distillery known as Linkwood B was built next to the original site, and the facility again was closed from 1985 to 1990, but has been open ever since.
What'd you think?
I thought that there was a definite wormwood note on the nose. It had a light flavor. It was not peaty. It had a definite solid Scotch character. You could taste the oak. I give it 3 sips.
Hold on.
Interesting.
I wasn't ready. What'd you think, Harm?
Justin just he flew by. You're used to us wordy bastards. So, what Justin forgot to mention, this came out at 45.4.0 ABV, and it's in refill hogsheads. So I'm guessing the second use. Again, if it's all refill hogshead, I would expect more color, but it's a straw, pale straw. The nose, I got candied apple, caramel custard, and sweet oak. I didn't put any water in it first. I don't think it needed it at 45.4. And the fruit was really good on the palate. I really enjoyed this. I did end up putting some water in, and it didn't really change the nose that much, but what happened was the finish went out longer. It was surprising. A little bit of water brought that finish out, and it's just a sweet, gorgeous whiskey, and I gave it 4 sips.
That's classified.
All right, Maury, what'd you think?
Okay, I thought the Linkwood was one of the more interesting offerings this evening. I thought that had a very interesting nose. It was somewhat perfumey and fairly complex, and yet feminine and delicate all at the same time. The palate definitely had some flowers on it, some hint of cherry and tropical fruit. I thought there was more than a little bit of smoke. I thought on the back end there was definitely some smoke. You had to get it sort of on the exhale. It was definitely not a smoky, peaty whiskey, but some had described it as very faint. And I would say, a little bit of smoke, but certainly not a lot. I like that.
I'm tasting again, and I didn't agree with you at first, but you're right. It's the very end of the smoke.
That
very
last little exhale through your nose is when it comes in.
Yeah, I think it was a nice whiskey. I enjoyed it quite a lot. I give it 3 sips.
Interesting.
All right. Well, I picked up definitely some rose water, a little bit of perfumey nature, apple blossoms on the nose, definitely cherries. The fruit was heavy on this one, and that smoke on the back end really, really just sent it over for me on the palate. That exhale. Really love this one. This one, solid 4 for me.
Yeah.
That's classified.
I've had some other great private bottlings of Linkwood too. I think sometimes
It's an underappreciated distillery. It really is.
Private bottlers, I think, sometimes do better than some of the original bottlings.
All right. Well, Harm, why don't you tell us about the next one?
The next one is the John Milroy Selection Miltonduff 34-year-old. Bottled at 47.9% ABV. It's it's aged in a hogshead. And Miltonduff is a Speyside distillery founded in Elgin in 1824. The site was once part of the Benedictine Priory of Sion.
No, that's yeah.
What?
The Priory of Sion? No, that's very Dan Brown. Okay, keep going.
The Benedictine Priory of Plascarden, which was founded in 1236. Nice. That's some ancient stuff. There are there's no visitor center there. The distillery is closed to the public, and which is my favorite kind. You sneak in.
I hate the one. I love the ones with no visitor center.
Yeah, you just need a pole and just practice some pole vault. You need Viking invaders is what you need.
I can do that.
There. The majority of the production is used as a main component of Teachers and Ballantyne's blended Scotch. Again, the color here was very light straw. The nose, without water, was just walnuts, just black walnut. At first, it was not pleasant. It did need the air to even get to the walnut. After a little while, it became flowery, and I got walnuts and dates. It was really interesting. The palate reminded me exactly of Ballantyne's. It became earthy and medicinal. The finish was also medicinal and earthy and kind of long with a little Band-Aid going on. Not my favorite, not pleasant whiskey for me. I don't mind Band-Aid in an Isla whiskey that's got a good amount of peat and smoke. This didn't have it. It had the earthiness and the bitter walnut going on, and the dates and the flowery notes did not overcome any of that. I felt it was a little unbalanced, and I can only give it 2 sips.
Well, isn't that nice?
All right, Maury, what'd you think?
I think Harmeet was being kind and politically correct. I really wanted to like this. I thought it's the most mature selection we have today to talk about. 34 years old. It's certainly a reputable distillery and really has a lot of history and great potential. I was, again, struck by the lightness of the color for a whiskey so old. Even in a second or third fill barrel, it's still relatively light. The nose was really just not very much for me. I found it almost a little off-putting. And on the palate, I was just overcome by sort of a mustiness, perhaps a hint of nuttiness. And my overall impression was it's just sort of past its prime.
Yeah, I'll give you that. It's definitely past its prime.
I think it spent too much time in the wood. I think it probably should have been bottled and drank 5 or 10 years ago. And
Or sold to Ballantyne's?
Or sold to Ballantyne's and blended in. And as much as I'd like to really rate it a little higher, to be honest with you, 1 sip is about all I could muster today. I'm sorry.
Water.
All right, what did you think, Justin?
Arg, I would say the nose smells like the bilge water on me ship. And
Was that the sea cap, or are we doing? You need to do Viking at this
pirate.
one. Come on.
Sounds like a homeless guy.
Well, no. How many homeless guys have built ships?
there are very few homeless guys
in
who
pirate
drinking a
land,
34-year-old scotch. But
right.
the sea captain's definitely thinking bilge water here.
Oh man, that doesn't seem like a pleasant note. This isn't going the right direction for them.
It had a really long finish to it, and it changed as it went. So the finish was actually really, really interesting on this one. So I would give it 2 sips.
Well,
Okay, so it
isn't that
started out
nice?
unpleasant but went interesting. Bob,
I actually took
isn't
some
that how
of
your wife described you? Unpleasant at the beginning, then interesting? No.
No, I haven't got to the interesting
That was
part.
the pool boy.
Oh, you became
That's
unpleasant
Ramon,
later.
the pool boy. He's awesome. He comes twice a month, and she's like really happy for a couple of days. I don't have a pool, but I figure
Yeah.
it's $100 a month, and she's really happy. So what the hell?
Yeah.
He seems like a nice guy. He's always tired when I see him, though. This is one that I actually put off to the side and let sit because I was concerned
Some
that
of
what
us
we were
don't have
tasting
time
it
to
was a
buy
little
unripe bananas.
it was a little bit closed, and it definitely opened up with a little bit of time and a little water. It absolutely needed the water. I got some rose petal on the palate. I got a very light bit of vanilla and smoke and nuttiness on it. After I let it sit and open up, it definitely, I thought it was a lot better than when I first opened it. It was very closed down when I opened it.
And I definitely want to make a comment, and that is just about all of these benefited from a little teeny
Yeah.
bit of water to open them up. They were all a little bit closed, and the water did help all of them.
Well, they're
Some
all
to a
old.
greater
They're all
degree.
also older selections. Air and water is going to help.
I
all
mean,
of
when
them
I
for
started
instance.
out, I went, this one's a 2. But once I let it sit over here for about 5 minutes and get some air. I kept swirling it and added about 2 or 3 drops of water, and it really picked up for me. And I give it a 3.
Wow.
Interesting.
So I guess we approach these all differently. I mean, we went from a 1 to a 3. We usually don't vary that much.
You got to give it time.
Yeah.
How much
I
did they
mean-
pay you to give them that 3?
That's
Doesn't
just
pay me,
wrong.
gives me back rubs. So
Peace and love, peace and
Hold
love.
out for the front
Not
rubs.
just the destination, but baby, the whole elation riding down this lover's avenue. As slow as the willow blows, or as fast as the whirlwind grows, we glide beneath the stars in cobalt blue. Look to the left, to the right. Keep your eyes on the road, my darling. Wondering if we're only passing through. Open roads and open windows. My hand is yours forever, sweet love. Our eyes ahead on these back roads with a view.
And we're back, and we're talking about the John Milroy selection. So, Maury, why don't we have you tell us about the Benrinnes?
Okay, thank you, Bob.
Does anyone know how to actually pronounce this?
I call it Benrinnes.
I call it Benrinnes.
It's Benrinnes.
Benrinnes.
Benrinnes? Well, it's 16 years.
It's pronounced Smith, but yeah.
It's Scottish. It could be Smith.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the Benrinnes distillery was founded in 1826 and was originally named Lynn of Ruthrie. Interesting name.
I like their new name better. Yeah.
Yes. The distillery was destroyed by
However
a flood.
However you pronounce it.
In 1829, it was only 3 years old and it was destroyed by a flood. And then it was rebuilt and later sold in 1842 when it was renamed Benrinnes.
And this expression is
56.3% ABV, barreled in ex-bourbon casks. So it's quite a bit higher proof than some of the things we've been tasting. And I think that shows.
Do we have any left? Just asking.
No, we drank it.
here's a little bit here.
You know, we still
Did I
the
just
good
spill
ones.
it?
They
No,
don't
here.
last.
There's a
There you go.
little itty bitty witty bit left.
Yeah, there you go.
Has, again, a light color,
Executive
relatively
privilege.
straw colored. On the nose, it's got a pleasant nose. It's got typical, a little bit of heather, a little bit of floral note, and I would say the nose is relatively delicate. On the palate, it's definitely a little thick. It's got some beautiful viscosity, really coats the mouth nicely. Some have talked about a bit of smoke. I really don't get much smoke at all, but I do get some ripe fruit, a little bit of spice note, even a little bit of tannin on the palate. It's definitely a little bit younger than some of the things we've had earlier this evening, but nonetheless, it's nice. It's got a medium finish, a well-made whiskey. I think it's got a lot of potential. Like we said earlier, I think water opens it up nicely and really just brings a lot of these flavors to the forefront. I give it a solid 3 sips.
Interesting.
All right, Justin, what do you think?
So this one had a different nose than the other ones. I would classify it as a Riesling nose. I found it to be medium on the peaty side. It had a generous mouthfeel to it. It had a long woody finish. And then I tried it again with water, and water really opened it up and lengthened the finish. I would give this one 3 sips.
Interesting.
Trying to figure out where the hell he's getting the peat from. What do you think, Harm?
I'm trying to figure out what they drank. Did I drink the right whiskey? Because I disagree with both of them completely.
Well, they are heathens, so.
Well, I don't know where you got the Riesling note from. Justin, expand on that. What Riesling notes are you getting?
So it was like sweet, like white grapes.
No petrol, no peach, no apple blossom, nothing. I don't know where you were going with. I mean, I got some apple and pear, maybe that's where the Riesling is coming from, but it wasn't.
There was like a green apple note to it.
It was so light, and I didn't put any water in it. The palate was pleasant, but there was nothing much there.
How much whiskey are you talking about? Are you reading
Benrinnes 16-year-old?
Benrinnes. Okay, I just want to make sure we're on the same page.
Yeah, because I didn't get the same things he got. Okay. And frankly, I just thought it was meh. Yeah, that's on my page. MEH, meh. There wasn't much there. Adding water actually killed it a little bit. I thought the finish was short, and I gave it 2 sips.
Well, isn't that nice?
Well, as usual, I don't know what the hell he's talking about. I definitely, the nose on this, the apple and the pear on it, with just one drop of water, it really, really opened up for me. On the palate, I'm definitely getting some fruit. I'm getting some spice notes. I'm getting that sharp kind of green apple.
What spice?
Yeah, up in the front, in the nose, in the front palate. I like this one. I really like this one. I give it a solid 4.
That's classified.
Holy camole, 4 sips.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, let's do the Ben Nevis 18 year. All right. Ben Nevis was founded in 1825. It was located in Fort William, next to the Ben Nevis, the highest mountain in the UK. The distillery was bought by Nikka in Japan in 1989. This one, again, light, pale straw color. Fairly light nose on it. Again, another one that I let sit for a little bit, and it really benefited from a little bit of airtime to open up. I got sweet, creamy, a little bit of oily texture to it. I got some fruity notes in it. On the back end, I definitely got a little bit of coconut, and I also got a little bit of toffee flavor in it. A good, solid effort. I give it a solid 3.
Interesting.
What do you think, Maury?
I think you're being generous today in general. I love great scotch, and some of these are really phenomenal producers, and they've certainly got plenty of age on them. This one might have been one of my least favorites of the evening. That's why I wasn't sure if Harmeet was talking about this scotch or the Benrinnes, because I summed this up with 3 letters, meh. I just didn't really find anything positive to say about it. So for me, it was just there. It just went past my palate relatively quickly. I thought it was not complex. I thought it was relatively one note, short finish. There was nothing outwardly displeasing about it, but there really wasn't a lot that make me run out and want another sip or another glass, much less buy a bottle. So with that, I give it 2 sips.
Well, isn't that nice?
All right, Justin, what do you think?
I got a anise or black licorice nose off it. It felt like it was lightly peated. Water improved it, but it still wasn't very good. Definitely not one of the more memorable scotches. I would give it 2 sips.
Well, isn't that nice?
And Mr. Happy?
I mean, I like this better than the Benrinnes. This was, I got floral notes on the nose. The palate was caramel and earthy. With water, I really got more of that floral note. It went up. I got some white peach and pear. That's like reminds me of your Riesling note. Maybe we switched these? I don't think so, though. I know how to read, I swear. So, the palate, it went with violets and a little bit of candied fruit. I thought the finish was okay. I mean, it was a good whiskey. I wouldn't turn my nose up. This is the 100. This is the 100 proof one, the 50% ABV, distilled in 1997. I think we've been neglecting to give the dates on some of these. So this is the 1997 18-year-old, and I gave it 3 sips.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think I can taste the Nika influence on the spirit. It's you can taste that Japanese influence and the delicacy of it coming.
I think they've done nothing but good things.
Yeah. I mean, I've had some of their older stuff, and you can definitely tell a difference between some of the older stuff and the stuff that's coming around this time and forward.
I've had some older Bowmore, and I think Suntory, when they bought them, did a big improvement.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, why don't you tell us about John Milroy?
Did you give a rating on this one? The Ben Nevis, did you give a rating?
Yeah, I started it, didn't I?
Was I having my coughing fit, not listening? Yeah.
I thought I did, didn't I?
Was anyone listening?
Well, I gave it 3 sips.
Interesting.
All right, well, tell us about the Tormore.
All right, the Tormore is a 20-year-old. This is the 1995 20-year-old at 52.6 ABV. Aged in refill hogshead, it is a Speyside. Tormore is a relatively new distillery designed by Sir Albert Richardson of the Royal Academy. Construction was completed in 1960. It's located right next to the main highway in the area, but oddly enough, has no visitor facilities.
Again, my favorite thing.
Got to break in. Color. Let's say it all together, kids. Pale gold. It's like these were all pale. This is more than straw. This actually had a little bit more color than some of the other ones. The nose, for me, was huge butterscotch. The palate was a little bit one note. And then the finish was medium. It's like, what's going on here? That nose promised so much. So what did I do? You all know, I added water. And then, with water, the nose was magic. It was gorgeous. The nose lengthened. I got a little bit more from the butterscotch. It was like some candied fruit coming out. The palate, the fruit was through the roof. Apple and pear and, I can't read this. Oh, the mouthfeel, yes. Mouthfeel was just improved so much. It was velvety. The finish went long, and I really was impressed by this whiskey, and I gave it 4 sips.
That's classified.
And I've had Tormore from the distillery that tastes nowhere near as good as this. This is a big improvement. This is one of those examples of where a private distiller takes something and makes it better.
Yeah,
Private bottler.
absolutely.
Private bottler, sorry, yes. Well, Maury, since you interjected, you actually got some in your mouth, I'll ask you to say something. What do you want?
I'm not ready. I'm going to revisit it with some water because I didn't really have.
He had the water.
I didn't really have a lot to say about
Justin,
it without
are you
the
ready?
water.
Sure.
Go ahead.
I got definite raisins on the nose, and it was also woody. The front end of the palate was pleasant, and I definitely got a lot of pears and grapes on the back end. It was pretty well balanced, pretty decent flavor. I'd give it 3 sips.
Interesting.
You didn't get the butterscotch on the nose?
I did not.
No.
How about you?
Much as I hate
Are
to
you
admit
okay?
it, Harmeet is correct.
Exactly.
It was very unimpressive
Without the
out
water.
of the bottle.
Yeah.
Without the water. The water really
I'm
changed
telling you,
everything.
everything in this series we've had, honestly,
Air and
benefits
water.
from two things:
Air and
some
water.
time with air, and a drop of water. I haven't had one from John Milroy that doesn't benefit from a little time. If you take it straight out of the bottle, it's one thing, and if you give it 5 minutes and about one drop of water, it completely changes.
That's probably true of all of us. We benefit from air and water.
Well,
except for Harmeet, he's an aerobe.
Well, he could do with some water and some soap.
No.
But what'd you think of the whiskey?
After the addition of water, I'll skip my initial comments. After the addition of water, I thought it had a nice nose. I thought it had a pleasant palate. I thought it had a very nice viscosity improvement. And it's interesting how it can become a little more oily and viscous with the addition of water. All in all, I think it's a solid whiskey, well made, and I gave it 3 sips.
Just 3?
Just 3. I'm disappointed in you.
Yeah, I'm disappointed in you.
Interesting.
As much as I hate to agree with Mr. Happy over here, yeah, this one was awesome. Once it got a little time and a drop of water, it just exploded. It absolutely opened up. The nose, apples and pears and flowers and just absolutely gorgeous. On the palate, light and sweet. I got the apple notes. I got green apple. I got citrus notes, oranges and lemons. A little bit of nuttiness on the back end.
I didn't get the citrus the first time, but now that you're saying
it's crazy when you think of it. We keep talking about the bourbon world and adding water as diluting it, and we love cask strength, and we think that stuff that's been proofed down is down, and it's just shocking that how much of a benefit
you have to remember that there are more compounds in a bottle of whiskey than you can shake a stick at. And some are alcohol soluble and some of them are water soluble. And, some whiskeys will benefit from water. Some it will wash out and make horrible.
But in general, I think the bourbons benefit less from water than the scotches.
My personal palate is with scotches a lot of times, more often than not, especially with older stuff, a drop or two of water will open things up significantly as opposed to an older bourbon. On a younger bourbon and a younger scotch, it seems to go the opposite way. With a younger bourbon, a drop or two of water for me seems to help it, as opposed to a younger scotch, it doesn't. It seems to wash it out.
And then the critical question is there, why are you shaking sticks at things? I've never picked up a stick and shaken it at anything.
Your wife's from Alabama. That's all they have is sticks. I give it a solid 4.
That's classified.
All right.
Oh, pick me.
I don't see anybody who wants to do this. Is there anybody in the class that would like to do our last one? Let's see. Anybody? Ooh, Mr. Cotta. All right, fine. Yeah. Horseshack, you take it.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much.
One of the sweat hogs.
Bunnahabhain was established in 1881.
Wait, tell us about the whiskey first.
On the Sound of Islay. It's a 56.2% ABV, a 25-year-old Bunnahabhain. John Milroy selection, aged in a hogshead from Islay.
And it's a 1990 distillate.
Thank you. It is accessed by a narrow road that was built solely to access the distillery. Due to its relatively remote location, the original builders of the distillery were also constructed housing on site for its workers, and even on site a school for the workers' children. Although it is an Islay whiskey, it is generally lighter and less peated than its peers.
Yeah, this is one of the other than Bruichladdich, this is the most lightly peated whiskey from Islay.
And I find it in the Bunnahabhain line, the older they get, the less peat there is. The peat seems to fade and give way to some of the more complex flavors. I think it's a nice whiskey. I think it's very well made. I think it had a lot of sweetness and candied fruit on the palate. Frankly, I thought it was a delicious whiskey with a nice finish, and I gave it 4 sips.
That's classified.
What'd you think, Justin?
I got a caramel nose off it. I think it was the best of the lot today. There was no peat. I got mint and caramel on the finish as well. A definite four sipper.
I have to agree with you. The nose was melon and a little bit of mint. The mouthfeel was amazing. Tropical fruit. 4 sips for me, too. Bob?
That's classified.
Once I added water, the honeydew melon in this absolutely leaped out. It was great when I opened it, but after giving it a little air and a drop of water, this one went off the charts for me. 5 sips.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes!
Wow.
Yes!
What?
Yes!
All right. Well, that's all we have time for today. We hope you enjoyed this episode. You can catch all of our episodes online as well as on SoundCloud, TuneIn, Stitcher, YouTube, Google Play, PRX, and Spreaker, our native media host. iTunes, Google Play, and our own Android app are the easiest ways to enjoy the show on your phone. Just search for Sips, Suds, and Smokes on iTunes or in the Google Play Store. Be sure to tap subscribe, and the show will always be on your phone. We love your feedback. You can reach us online at info@sipssudsandsmokes.com. Our daily tasting notes flow out on Twitter every day at Sips, Suds, Smokes, and our Facebook page is always buzzing with lots of reviews and news. You'll also be able to interact with thousands of other fans on those social media platforms. Do us a favor and please take the time to rate this episode. It really helps us a lot. It helps us with our rating, and it also helps us to know we're doing a good enough job. It's something we're actually asking you to do, please.
Yeah, we're just shooting for good enough, by the way.
Yeah. Want to thank our co-host. Thank you, Justin.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Maury.
Bob, it's always a pleasure to be here in the basement. I did wear my hip waders today, and it's the first time I'm going home with dry socks.
Sweet.
Thank you, Harmeet.
Thanks again, Bob. I love this place. The basement is the best place, and I'm going to bring my black light to really bring out the Elvis on the wall. The Velvet posters are great. I wish we had more time to talk about that last one, but a lot of whiskeys to taste today.
Thank you, Ringo.
Peace and love. Peace and love.
There you go.
All right. And this is Made Man Bob, and we thank you for joining us. And remember, life is too short to drink cheap whiskey.
Wrong. Life is too short for bad whiskey. It's always good for cheap whiskey.
You know what I say about whiskey?
Get in my belly!
That's right.
Would you like some more whiskey?
Is there anything left?
You have to ask me nicely.
This has been a One Tan Hand production of Sips, Suds, and Smokes, a program devoted to the appreciation of some of the finer slices of life. From the Dude in the Basement Studios, your hosts, the good old boys, will see you all next time.